So, welcome to Meet the Experts. I am Cassandra Hesseltine, the Film Commissioner for Humboldt-Del counties, and I am really excited to interview you because you are a special person in my life. Besides someone that I work with closely, you're just a lovely human being. And please tell the world who you are.
Hi, everybody. My name is Eve Honthaner. I am currently the Deputy Director of the California Film Commission. I've been here about 7.5 years. And before that, I had a very, very long career in film production, actually physical production.
Yeah. You're amazing. You've had a long career in the film industry. So explain a little bit more, what does that mean? What did you do before working for the California Film Commission? What were you doing in the industry?
I did almost everything. I started when I was very young. I started as a PA, production assistant slash assistant, and just kept trying to work my way up. I had some really great opportunities, but my career, like many in the industry, didn't just follow a pattern of going up, 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 up. It went up and then sideways and then down and then up again. And for many years, I found that I really enjoyed physical production. I love the way that you put all the pieces together. I mean, from negotiating deals and contracts and hiring crew and picking locations and working on budgets and schedules, and individually they all seem kind of but when you put everything together, a movie or TV show happens. And it was very exciting for me. I'm more of a behind the scenes kind of person than in front of the camera, as you know. So I like I've always liked running the production office and making sure that everything was taken care of and everybody had what they needed to do their jobs. I worked in production. I freelanced for many years. I became a production supervisor. Occasionally I would work for a company specifically for a while or exclusively, like Orion Pictures, and I was at DreamWorks for a while, and also Legendary Pictures for a while. And I became a non-union production manager, again, a production executive. It was really it was great. I loved it.
Explain. I'm sorry. I was just saying, can you explain to people who might be watching this, what does a production supervisor do, or a production manager? I mean, you just told us all those different components of putting together. So is so that the layman who doesn't know what the industry is like, what does that entail, that particular type of job?
It means making sure that the show stays on budget and on schedule. It's helping to put the budget and schedule together, tracking costs, making sure that all the deals are negotiated, whether it's for crew or equipment or locations. You're going to be going on location. I would call the local film commission, make sure that that they could help kind of bring them in as partners. Are there enough hotel rooms and housing options for the show? Are there local crew? Are there deals to be had with local vendors? It's working with all the unions and guilds, figuring out, okay, we are doing a project that is going to be shot in and around water. What do we need to know? What kind of special equipment do we need? Special divers? what exactly do we need for each show? And each show is usually something different that I've never been involved with before, and I'm having to learn something new on every single production. I've worked on really small, well, the smallest I've worked on is a $1 million movie, and to some that's a big budget because there are a lot of low budget filmmakers out there working with a lot less, and I give them all the credit in the world for being able to do that. And then the biggest production I ever worked on is Titanic, and that was totally nuts. And part of my job was making sure most of the movie was filmed in Mexico, and we had to bring in everything. We not only had to bring in everything we needed for the movie, but we were building a brand new studio in Mexico along the coast. We had 3 months, and it was getting everything into Mexico to build the studio, to build the sets. We had wardrobe coming and props coming from all over the world, building materials. We couldn't get it into the country fast enough. And it was nuts. It was absolutely nuts. So I learned a lot about shipping and customs and immigration. You know, every show I did a movie a long time ago on Adolf Eichmann, and I spent a lot of time doing research on the Holocaust and the war and after the war. Every show brings with it new challenges, new things to learn, new people, and I love that about working in production. So anyway, and then also something about me along the way, and these are kind of long stories I won't get into, but I ended up writing 2 books, which I had no intention of ever doing. I never woke up one morning and said, oh, I'm going to write a book today. Just kind of happened. And one is called The Complete Film Production Handbook. And it's been on the market since the early 90s. I am now working on a 5th edition.
Oh my goodness.
And then I accidentally ended up taking over somebody's class for them as an instructor way back when, decided that I loved teaching and created a new course that I designed for USC Film School. And my second book is based, it's called Hollywood Drive, What It Takes to Break In, Hang In, and Make It in the entertainment industry. Thank you. And it's based on the course that I created. And it's all the practical tools one needs to break into the industry and make a plan and figure out what you want to do and how to get there. And there's a lot more involved, but it turned out to be a great class, and I taught it at USC for 19 years.
Yeah, you know, I was perusing through it because I got to go to your opening, your signing for the book, the launch of it, which was really exciting. And I was perusing through it, and it really is, as someone who worked in the industry before I became a film commissioner as well, you know, similar kind of path. It is really well done. I mean, you talk about everything from key ingredients to a successful career, you know, in, you know, all these different, you've got, I think 17 points of different things to think about of the key ingredients to career options, which I think is really lovely. You point out all the different types of jobs that there are, because as someone who often uses students as interns, it's amazing how many of them only know of like 3 jobs in a movie, right, and don't realize there's so many other jobs to be had, and what does that mean? There was a couple other sections I just wanted to point out that were really nice. Your personal brand, I thought that was a really lovely section too, you know, about be a first-rate version of yourself, the quote from Judy Garland that you have in there. I liked what are they looking for and the types of qualities you should be: a resourceful, energetic problem solver. You have all these bullets about, those kind of things. I mean, this book is just packed with information of somebody who really, I mean, you even talk about walkie-talkie basics, I mean, these are things that sometimes people just don't know. And if they knew this stuff going in, it would be so much more equipped, so much more ready for any position. We've been interviewing specific people for certain jobs. We've interviewed somebody who was in, a stunt coordinator. We interviewed somebody, who did props. We've done, specific jobs. What I love about this interview is, and your book, it's something that everybody needs, no matter what department you're in, no matter what job you're in. They need this if they're starting out and wanting to work in the industry. And you even have, and I thought this was really amazing, getting past the disappointment and depression, and I thought that was a really cool section as well, so it's a really amazing book. Tell our people, where can they get this book?
The best place is Amazon. It's the best price and it's the easiest.
Okay, yeah, I highly encourage it, because I think that, not only are you my friend, but it's actually really well done and well written after, somebody who's spent, now 20 years in the industry as well. It's an excellent book. So where do you teach it again? Where did you see the class you took over?
I did teach it every summer at USC for 19 years.
Right. Okay.
And I have done a lot of, before I came to the Film Commission, when I had time, I did a lot of lecturing throughout the country. And it was great. I loved it. Right now, I'm not teaching at the moment, but I hope to be soon back teaching on, in the new year. And I also have been asked to design an online course that kind of goes along the lines of this class.
That sounds amazing. I think that would be really good. Let us know when you have that. I was just looking at your IMDb and I see that you got to work on Tropic Thunder. That must have been hilarious.
Well, it was a tough show, but we got to film in Hawaii, and I got to live on Kauai for 5 months, which is unbelievable to be paid to live there for 5 months.
Oh my goodness.
The only problem was I didn't have enough downtime to really, really explore and enjoy. But we were so close to the ocean. My condo was, our office trailer was. So if things got really bad, I just went outside, walked to the ocean, took a couple deep breaths, and went back to work.
That's the best stuff to picture being in Hawaii when we're upset. You actually got to just like walk out there and do that. That is amazing.
Yeah.
Well, okay, it was wonderful, I bet. Yeah. Tell us a little bit more about now, transitioning from, being a project manager and doing those kind of things. And tell us a little bit more about now working for the California Film Commission. What is that like?
Well, it's funny. Before I heard about the job opening, I never fully knew what film commissions did. I mean, I knew when I was on location that I would always work with the local film commission, but I never knew what a state film commission did and all the things that we provide. So what I like best about this is that I can use all of my production knowledge and skills without having to work production hours, which is great. I know the 15 hours a day are gone, which is great. So one of the things I like most about my job is helping filmmakers when they have problems on their shows. It could be as easy as I want to shoot on the courthouse steps. It's just a scene with somebody coming out the door, walking down the stairs and getting in a car and driving away. And the court said they need 30 days to process our request, but we need to do the shot on Friday. So, you know, it's calling the court, asking if they could please accommodate us this one time. It's, you know, and just being really nice and asking for help. And they said yes. It could be a really big problem that takes months to sort out. But I love being able to solve problems. It's like putting puzzles together and seeing how things can work. And it's a challenge. You do it very well. And sometimes we've worked together on problems that the shows that have shot in your area have had. But it's brainstorming, it's figuring out, well, we can't do that, but maybe we can do this. I hate just saying no. And I will go to great lengths to do almost anything that needs to be done before we hit that final no. And it's about compromise and being fair and being nice to people, and just not going about it in a rude way, or like some filmmakers do, like they think that they can do anything they want whenever they want just because they're filmmakers, and it's not true. And you just have to know who to talk to, how to talk to them. And I love when I can solve a big problem. We also issue permits for state-owned properties here. We have a location library and a wonderful librarian who helps filmmakers find locations. We have a whole department that administers a $330 million tax credit program that we have. And believe it or not, we promote filming in California. A lot of people think, why would you have to promote California when it's so obvious that people film there? But nowadays it isn't obvious. And a lot of producers follow tax incentives in other states and countries. And if they can get a better deal, they will often consider it. So we still have to be out there letting everybody know that California has everything anybody could want. Maybe not all in the same place, but definitely within the state. So we do that a lot. And another part of my job that I absolutely love is working with a network of about 58 regional film offices throughout the state and helping them with their issues, helping to provide backup and information and support in any way we can. And I have made such good friends. Everybody's terrific. And it's great. I never know what's going to come up. I deal with anything that has to do with filming in the state. And when it became legal under certain circumstances to use drones for filming, it's like I had to learn all about filming with drones. And I have since worked with the FAA and been in a lot of meetings and have put out a great deal of information within the state about filming with drones. It's like legislation that comes up, anything that could affect filming, including the virus.
Now we're in a pandemic.
Right. We get involved and we provide resources and guidelines. We're not as much like on the ground scouting locations and doing a lot of the personal things that individual film offices do, but overall dealing with issues that affect the whole state.
Right. And then I think that what's interesting about that is definitely your what do I say? I'm just plugging in my charger here from my computer. Your previous experience definitely obviously contributed to you be able to help all these productions simultaneously? Because before you would have done one, like you said, on the ground, it would have been really in depth with one project. And now you're aware of all the projects that are going on in California, or at least for sure the ones that go through the tax incentive program. And as us regional offices, you know, let you guys know what else is also going on, you know, in our areas. So it's a much broader, bigger scope,
Right.
you know, which, you know, it seems like definitely your background must have been amazing for you, you know, coming in on this job.
Right. Well, it was really funny. When I first started, I had a location manager call me. He wanted to film at a state beach on a certain day. The schedule got changed. He wanted to change it. The park ranger who was in charge of filming for that particular beach said it wasn't available. This guy called me, he says, we have to have this. You don't understand how important it is. And I said, yeah, I do. And he said, no, you can't possibly know. And then he tried a lot of, you know, name dropping.
Yes.
A lot of name dropping, and you know, try to impress upon me this bureaucrat here at the Film Commission, how important it was to be able to switch the days, and I've got to help him. And he was desperate, and he kept saying, you don't understand. And I kept saying, I do understand. And
I made Titanic.
finally, yeah, I got so frustrated with him. Take down the spelling of my name and look me up on IMDb, and then tell me I don't understand.
Right.
So word got out, and then it was like, okay, she gets it. She will do whatever she can to make something work. Now, I have had to say no once in a while, but not very often.
Right. That's, yeah, and I can understand that. Yeah, where had you not worked in production, you may not have understood what he was going through. But since you do have this incredible background, and you know, you are an author of the industry, you know, and how it works, it's makes sense that you would be stellar at your job, which you are. You know, I've always found you incredibly resourceful and amazing to work with. And so yeah, that makes sense. So what would you say is the best thing about your job, and what is the worst thing about your job? I mean, you kind of covered having to say no probably is one of the worst things, but what would you say?
Right. Well, the worst thing about my job now is government bureaucracy. And because this is a state position, and I am used to being in production where you take care of things right away that need to be done. You spend money quickly if you need to.
Right.
You make decisions rapidly because time and money are big factors. But when you work for the government, nothing happens quickly, and you can't always, you know, get from A to B right away. You have lots of little steps in between, and as much as I have enjoyed this job, the bureaucracy is frustrating. And also other government bureaucracies, like we've had to deal with like issues people have been having with the Army Corps of Engineers, and simple things, but because it's a federal institution, you can't just call somebody and say, this is hampering filming, or you make it too difficult for people to film at your properties. It took a year to get a meeting with the right person at, you know, at the Army Corps of Engineers, and he got it, and he's helped us. And what's great is it doesn't just benefit one show, but all the shows that came afterward. But those kind of things take a long time sometimes to work out. And
Right.
it's easy to lose patience. So there are some other things, but I really, the best thing for me any job is the people I get to meet and work with, and the new friends that I make, no matter what. It's amazing. And I would say that that was one of the best things about working in production, because I was always, working in new places, and there'd be new crew members and cast and people outside, vendors and studio people I would meet and work with. And I just really enjoyed most of the people that who I got to work with over the years. That was always, for me, the best. And when I was in production, it was also the travel. It was getting to spend 5 months in Hawaii or a month in Paris or
Wow.
um,
That is amazing.
and meeting people from all over the world, and getting to see how other people do it. So
Yeah. Well, so that's okay. I already work in film, but you made me want to work in film. But so you said, you didn't expect to write books, on Hollywood, in filmmaking. You probably didn't expect to work for, California Film Commission, when you went into the career. But did you plan on going into film? Like, was this something so how did that happen?
my family moved us out to California when I was in the middle of high school. And I didn't grow up in California. My early life was in Chicago. And it didn't even hit my radar that this was a career that I could do or get into. I certainly didn't know anybody in the film industry here. So, but when I started college, I had a teacher who took a liking to me. And she said to me at the end of the first semester, said she had a friend who worked at a local TV station who needed an assistant for a special project. And if I would be willing to quit school for a semester, she would recommend me for the job. But again, I'd have to quit school for a semester. Wow. I was 19 years old. And I went in for the interview. I got the job. I walked into that TV station and I never looked back. I never went back to school.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that part. Wow.
Yeah.
Look at you now. Jeez.
I was there for about a year. They after the special project I was hired for, they kept me on, and they found more work for me to do. And then it got slow and they laid me off for a while. And I ended up getting another job in the industry that led me, I just knew this is what I wanted to do. I wanted to work in television or feature films. I loved, I walked into this not realizing how close people get and the family unit that is formed when you work with a group of people, long hours on shows, lots of things to take care of and work out together. And it was like this revelation to me, like, I love this, and I am going to just learn the hard way by doing. And as I said, I was a PA. I ran around a lot and I did everything. And then I finally kind of worked my way up into production. But yeah, I got in I now teach my students how to figure out what they want and make a plan. There's a saying that I love, that's life will not go according to plan if you have no plan. And it's true. And I think I would have done better in my career, even better, had I made plans. but I didn't. And the career happened by accident. The writing of the book, the first book, was an accident. And my getting into teaching was an accident. And I totally found a passion for helping young people get started in the industry. And I think it kept me from getting too burnt out myself, because working with young people and helping them constantly reminds me what I love about this industry. And seeing their excitement and sharing their successes keeps me fueled all the time. I mean, I just love doing that.
I think you just answered my next question, which was, how do you stay motivated in this industry? And that sounds like it rejuvenates you to see, these young people who, are wide-eyed, fresh, haven't been jaded by the long hours and, days and,
Right.
stress of it all. It sounds like that, recharges you.
Right. And what my message to them is not, oh, you're going to be great and you're going to make it and, blah, 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 blah. It can be done. And I'm going to give you the tools to give you the best chance you have of making it. No guarantees. I like people to know what they're walking into, what's going to be expected of them, and what they can expect. So they're not walking in cold, and they know right from the start what is going to be expected of them.
Yeah, no, I think that's amazing. So let me ask you I've got a couple other questions here for you. And one of them is, so then, besides buying the book, and this isn't a sales pitch, but I honestly believe they should, because it's got amazing information in there. But what would you recommend for somebody who does want to pursue a path, in Hollywood or in filmmaking or television, and, we're really, anybody anywhere who's watching this, but obviously we created this series for our area, for people in Northern California who maybe really have no idea. They're not close to Hollywood and, geographically. And they may go, and we're in a pandemic, and here we are. What could they be doing now to help pursue their path? What kind of training or aptitude do they need to get into the industry?
There are lots of things that you can do. There's so many, actually, but there are a lot of other books on the market. If you're interested in becoming a production manager, look at what books are out there. Learn about budgeting and scheduling. If you're interested in cinematography, get some books on that. There are so many books, helpful, wonderful, amazing books on the industry, from making low budget films, distribution, whatever aspect of the industry you think you might be interested in, start reading about it. Also, if you want to be in this industry, sign up to get news updates every day from the trade papers. Daily Variety, it's just called Variety now. The Hollywood Reporter, The Wrap, Below the Line News. There are a lot. I just can't think of all of them now. But it doesn't cost anything to get headlines. You can also access certain articles and news briefings by going to Google Alerts and typing in different topics that you might be interested in. So you will get headlines, but like from Deadline, I get Deadline, The Wrap, Variety headlines every single day. So know what's going on in the industry, who's hot, who's just gotten a 5-picture deal with which studio, what genre is selling right now. I also really believe in having a community of people who are going through the same thing that you are, because you help each other by brainstorming. I started an organization in 2000 that doesn't exist anymore, but it ran for many years, called Film Industry Network. I also have a smaller group now that I started called the Saturday Morning Breakfast Group. And it's anywhere from 5 to 15 people who get together for breakfast now on Zoom every other Saturday morning to talk about their goals, what they're trying to do with their careers. And there's a lot of brainstorming and helping each other.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's helping each other or just being there for support, it's very good to create your own community. Maybe you want to try to get an agent and someone in your group has an agent and can recommend or help you get a meeting with that agent. Or you're interested in, developing a type of TV show and someone in the group maybe knows something about that type of show. So it's always good to have a community and a group of people to bounce things off of. And if there isn't a film group in your area, a meetup group, an organization, start one. And be there for each other. Film Industry Network, we had about over 100 members. We met once a month. We did everything we could to support each other's careers. We had a short film competition, a screenplay competition. We would pick a screenplay and then do stage readings. There were all kinds of things we did to help careers. And what I loved about it is in the beginning, people would introduce themselves and they would, each one individually, when it was their turn, they would say, my name is so-and-so, and I am learning how to be a production manager, but I'm having trouble doing this budget and I could use a little help with the budget. And someone else would raise their hand and say, I'm happy to help you with the budget.
Wow.
So it was like, what do you need? What can you help with? Putting people together. So that's good. There are possibly some groups to join where you can, especially now, meet people online, Zoom functions. I also teach my students, and it's in the book, how to set up general information meetings with industry professionals. You are not asking for a lot of time and you're not asking for a job. So you're not really putting somebody on the spot. What you're doing is asking for advice. I'm a student or I'm new to the industry and I'm really thinking about a career in whatever. It's like if you're interested in maybe being an editor, try to set up a meeting like this with an editor you admire. Just ask for 15, 20 minutes of time to ask some questions and get some advice to help you make decisions about your career. And the purpose of any meeting is not to get a job, it's to make a connection. So as you start meeting people, you ask if you could stay in touch. And that's how you start building a network. The industry is built on relationships, and you need those connections and friendships to help you get where you want to go. Networking,
authentic relationships, and I think that's what you're really good at. Is it never feels like it's a forced one to only achieve your goals. It is true, authentic ones that end up helping you achieve your goals,
networking isn't about what other people can do for you. It's about what you could do for them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about forming, as you say, real friendships and connections, because people hire and want to help the people they know and like. So it stands to reason that the more people who know and like you are going to want to help you, the more opportunities you're going to have. One of my friends, I became very good friends years ago with the man who ran facilities at two major studios. I got to know him when I worked on two shows at his studios, and we stayed in touch. And then when I needed a meeting room for Film Industry Network, I just said, you know, we're a nonprofit. Is there any way you could let us use one of your big conference rooms for our, you know, our monthly meetings? And he said, yeah, I can help you with that.
Oh, wow.
And that's how I got my job at DreamWorks. After Titanic, DreamWorks contacted me and asked me to set up a Mexico unit for them at the same studio.
Mm-hmm.
And I did. I had turned around and went right back to Mexico to work on this. It wasn't a whole movie. It was just a part of the movie, and they called it their Mexico unit. And I got to run it for them, and it was great. And the executive at DreamWorks who had hired me, we stayed in touch. We had lunch once in a while. He had agreed to meet with some of my students who were practicing going out and meeting industry professionals. He would call me for advice sometimes. I'd call him. Anyway, we ended up with a nice friendship. And when Tropic Thunder was over, and Tropic Thunder was done by DreamWorks, but Tropic Thunder was over, I stopped in at his office just to say goodbye. And he said, well, what do you think you're going to be doing next? And I said, I'm not sure yet. And he said, what would you like to do? And I just thought, okay, I'm going to go for it. And I said, you know, I've always wanted to work with you here at DreamWorks. And he said, funny you should mention that. I have a job opening and I'd like you to consider it. And after my initial excitement, I thought, how lucky. I don't have to apply. I don't have to interview. I don't have to compete. This is somebody who knows me, likes me, and knows my work.
Right.
And I was offered the job, and it was like, it doesn't always happen that way, but every once in a while it does. And it's from creating relationships and staying in touch and staying connected with people.
That is a really, good advice. I mean, I think we've had, with the different interviews, we've had a lot of, someone always says something different. And I think that probably people might have said, you know, obviously have, you know, relationships and things, but not to the degree that you just really kind of showcased it, you know. And I think it's very true, you know. It's definitely given me several jobs from relationships that I had. And I think working really hard, they saw how hard I worked, plus we had a good friendship, and then they referred me to the next position or job. Right. And it's been amazing to, like you said, to go, wow, I don't even have to interview. You're offering this to me. It's an amazing feeling to know that you've accomplished that people actually have that much faith and trust in you from what you've done in the past, which shows why you should always work hard on any project, because you never know what the next project it's going to propel you to, you know. All right. So is there anything that if you could do it over again or had to do it over again, is there anything that you would do different going into the industry?
I would. I definitely would, especially knowing now what I could have done earlier to help with my career. I would have had a plan. I would have kind of figured out where I was going and how I was going to get there. Kind of like what I'm doing for my students now. And I would have a mentor, which I didn't have. I mean, there were helpful people along the way, but I didn't have, I would have loved to have had one or two mentors. There were people I worked with who enjoyed having me part of their team, but they didn't want to see me move anywhere or move up because I was good at what I did for so long. So I wasn't able to move out of that little box. And when I did, it was in very small increments, but I would definitely have a mentor. I would have a plan. It took me a long time to learn how to stand up for myself, what I was capable of doing. When I started, it wasn't as easy for women as it is today. And I'm only 5'2", and I'm
Yes.
not very imposing looking, and I don't have a deep voice. And some of these guys would look at me and say, "You're just a little girl. What can you do?" And it used to make me nuts, but it took me a long time to realize what I was capable of and that I really was making a difference and that I was good at my job. So I would have had a different attitude and a plan, definitely.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear someone who's so organized and I feel like a well-oiled machine and sophisticated and capable, to hear that at some point in your life you didn't know that that you were those things. And it's really interesting, like you said, to have a mentor to reflect that back on you, to say, help encourage you, to help you learn what is it we're missing, and then help us move forward is so important, for sure. So yeah, that's a great recommendation. And I think having a mentor would help you create that plan too, in the sense of, because sometimes, I think part of the issue is, well, okay, great, I have to have a plan, but how do I make that plan if I've never done this before, And I think that having that expert person, to help, discuss the specifics of your career,
And what kind of jobs I should take or not take.
Right.
And I don't have to take a job just because it's offered. I can be a little choosy about who I work with, what I choose to work on, what position I take. I think I would have volunteered to work for free if I could get better screen credits and a higher position.
Interesting.
Just to establish myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
So what, again, we have the whole point that we started these videos, though we're excited, for other people around the world to watch them. The whole point that we started them was for our local community here, while we were doing shelter in place, and to really kind of expose them and educate them to the industry. So we have people, locals, that are either have been crew or want to be crew. We have vendors that are more than willing to work with productions when they come, and we have open back up for filming. What should our local crew and vendors know? What do they need to know about working with productions as they're coming here?
Well, one of the things I recommend, and you may already do this, I don't know, but you know how before a show leaves a location, they usually have a wrap party with all the local people. I have been on a couple shows where they have a party before the filming starts. It's kind of a welcome party to the people coming in from out of town. And it's also a chance for them to meet a lot of the locals and the vendors. So that's always helps. So people start to get to know each other before the filming even starts. So that's one suggestion. And I'm sure you also put a vendor package together for the crews coming in. Like, here are the places you can go for this, this, and this. Here a list of restaurants. Some of them would be willing to stay open late or open early if the crew needs something like that. Here's where you can pick up lumber at a good price, or this vendor is willing to give you a 10% discount, something like that. For the crew, it would be nice to let them know in advance who they could send resumes to, who they could approach to throw their name in the hat. Like, I'm a local electrician and I would be happy to talk to the gaffer about my qualifications, see if he might be interested in having me work on the show when it comes to town. So there are a lot of things that they could do. Also, for the local filmmakers, you can make movies any place now. You don't have to be in Los Angeles or New York. You don't have to be in a huge production hub. Content is being made everywhere. It's so easy now. People are shooting their own content. They're editing it. There are a lot of places to exhibit your work. You can have your own website. You can be, on YouTube or Vimeo or something like that, where you can direct people to your work so they can see what you do. Enter film festivals. I mean, it would be nice for the local vendors to also maybe have discounts for some of the local filmmakers.
Nice idea.
Yeah. But there was a time where if you wanted to make movies, you had to be in Hollywood. Now Hollywood is everywhere. So it would be nice. And we had talked earlier about having a community of people. So within that community of filmmakers, local filmmakers, share your work and bounce ideas off of each other. Where would be a good place to submit this? Do you have any suggestions for film festivals? You don't have to wait for a bigger film to come to your area. There are a lot of things that can be done just with the local filmmakers, and to bring in, like, this guest speaker series is a great idea. I mean, it's perfect. You don't have to spend the money to fly people up, although I'm sure it would be lovely and a lot of people would love to see Humboldt.
Yes.
But,
they do.
But it's really nice to be able to do this via Zoom and to interview a lot of people in people who work in different aspects of the industry, to again introduce local people to different career opportunities. I mean, not everybody gets to be a producer, director, writer, or actor. And it's amazing. In my classes, I'll bring in a location manager and he or she will start talking about the job and how fulfilling it is. And all of a sudden, I've got students who are looking into becoming location managers.
It's really neat when you see the typical student who knows that limited information, and then they blossom and just see all the different departments and really fall in love with the area that they're going to go into. And it's a really neat process to watch that happen, for sure. And I really like what you were talking about too, going back to what you mentioned about what the vendors, about staying open maybe extra hours. We've had hotels do that for productions, when productions were filming all night and didn't return until early morning and wanted to use the pool because that was their night time, and they extended the pool open. Or when we had Bird Box, they were in a very rural part of Del Norte, and a lot of restaurants were closed by the time they were done filming, or closed on Sundays. And so we approached restaurants that were willing to stay open because they had 351 crew members in this tiny little town with most restaurants closed, and they all needed to go out to eat. So it was amazing,
Right. Yeah.
you know, for the vendors to be smart about, extending themselves if they're capable during a time when we have productions like that.
It's a big deal. I mean, you don't realize it till you've been on location or you host location shoots that it's important to have some businesses, including the hotel, if there are restaurants at the hotels, to be able to open earlier, stay open later. Also with the hotels, if the crew is doing night shoots, to not clean near their rooms or
smart, yes.
the hallways
Yes.
while they're sleeping during the day, to kind of move the cleaning crew away from the rooms where the crew is staying. Yeah.
That's a really good point. Yeah. Well, you've just given us your wealth of information. What are your final thoughts for us? What do you want us to know that we haven't talked about yet?
I think, especially now, while people have more free time, that it's a good chance to work on, I call it shameless self-promotion. Figuring out how to pitch yourself, how to sell yourself. Some people call it their elevator pitch, but coming up with like a 1-minute pitch, whether you meet people at a party or a networking event, or you go on an interview with someone, or you're trying to line up some work for yourself and somebody says, tell me about yourself. You don't want to go on and on forever. And for a lot of us, it is uncomfortable to do that, to sell ourselves. But the trick is to be memorable, to think of something to say when you're pitching yourself that people are going to hang on to. Because if everybody kind of says basically the same thing, you don't stand out and you kind of blend in with everybody else. So an example, one of my students is a skydiver, and that's what he does for a hobby. Any chance he can, he goes skydiving. So we worked out a pitch for him when he first moved out here. And that was, people tell me this industry is really tough, but I jump out of airplanes for fun. Nothing scares me, and I'm ready to take it on. So he didn't become Chris, the new guy who just moved to LA to break into the industry. He became the skydiver.
Yeah.
Like, whatever happened to the skydiver?
Yeah. Chris the skydiver. Yeah, totally. That's brilliant and so quick. It's such a quick moment, and it's an association. It's a memory association that is very smart. Yeah.
Right.
That's brilliant.
Or, you know what? Years ago, my mother had a job. This isn't me. I'm just throwing out an example.
Sure.
Years ago, my mother had a job, a temporary job working for Jack Benny. And she used to tell me stories, and I loved hearing about it. And I want to follow in her footsteps and work for celebrities. So she's not just Jane, the young woman who wants to work for celebrities. I'm going to think her mother worked for Jack Benny. I mean,
right.
Interesting. Or maybe you speak several languages, or you lived in another country for many years. I had a student who went to film school in Russia. And it was like, you got to use that in your pitch. It's going to help people remember who you are. Right. So you don't want to go more than a minute, because you'll bore people. Anything more than a minute is boring, no matter what you have to say. But just something, I'm new to the industry and I'm good at this and this is my goal. And just a little bit about myself, and then find something interesting or something you're good at. And the pitch is part of your brand. It's how you want people to see you, how you want people to think of you. And everybody should also have an online presence. Even if you don't have a lot of experience, clean up your social media pages. Take out anything from, like your wild party college days. Maybe you have some pictures you don't want prospective employers to see. And they will Google you. They will check and see if you have an online presence. So make sure it's a good one. Follow people on social media who you like and admire. There was a young woman in our office. She was an intern, and she followed producers who were producing shows she liked and whose work she admired. And one day she noticed on this one producer's feed, it said, okay, first person who gets in touch with me is invited to our table read next week. So she did, and she got invited. She went. She asked some intelligent questions. She met some nice people. They liked her. They invited her back. She ended up getting general information meetings with like the director, the producers, and she made contact. She helped expand her network. You can get to know someone by retweeting their content. There are a lot of ways to connect online, but also if you write, say you're an art director, a costume designer, a production designer, an editor, a DP, have samples of your work online. Either, have a website where you can direct people to your work, either that's lives on your website, or have a link to your YouTube page or your Vimeo page, whatever, wherever your work lives. But have something there so people can see what you do and how well you do it. If you want to be a movie reviewer, review movies and have samples of your work online. Have samples of scripts that you've written. Just, work on creating a really positive online presence that showcases your work, and you have your bio and your resume and samples of anything that you can. If you're an actor, have a demo reel together so people can see your work. And think about what makes you memorable, how you want to brand yourself, how you want people to see you. And again, if you don't stand out, you're going to blend in with everybody else.
Yeah.
So, I also wanted to mention that if you're new to the industry and you get a chance to work on a show, your first show, your second show, whatever, just know that when you start, you're going to be doing a lot of entry-level tasks. You may be asked to make coffee or pick up lunches, and everybody knows that you have more abilities than doing those menial tasks, but that's what they need, and that's why you're there. And it's your opportunity to get your foot in the door. And what people are going to notice is not your talent. They're not going to know or even care right away if you're talented. Yeah. They just want to know that you're there to help them because that's what they need. But if you have a great attitude, And if you're asked to do something, even if it's a crummy job, and you just say, no problem, I'm happy to help you with that.
Yeah.
With a big smile on your face. That's no problem. I'm happy to help. Anything you need. You come in early, you stay later, you are polite, you become indispensable. You have that great can-do attitude. People are going to notice that great attitude, and they are going to want to get to know you better, and they're going to want you on their next show. And as they get to know you and like you and rely on you, they will start talking with you, and they're going to realize what your goals are and want to help you. But unless you have that great attitude, they're not going to bother. They're not going to bother. So a lot of students get their first job thinking that they're going to be making movies, and instead they're asked to make coffee, and they're not very happy about that. It's like, I didn't go through all this just to come here and make people coffee, but that's the price you have to pay for getting your foot in the door.
Yeah.
And also, if you can work, if they don't need anybody, they don't need extra help, and you can't get a job on a show you want, volunteer to work for free, because it's still part of your, think of it as part of your education, and you are paying for the opportunity to let people know how terrific you are and what a great attitude you have and how special you are. Just keep asking. I'm here. I'm willing to help. I'll do whatever you need. I'll be your best PA, assistant, whatever that you've ever had, but give me the opportunity.
Right.
So, jobs don't always come to you. Sometimes you have to figure out how to go to them and how to win people over, and just kind of insert yourself and be bold. So
great advice. I really appreciate all of this. And again, I think this book, your book, is amazing. I think, there's so much of it also in here of what we talked about. And it's really powerful, especially for somebody who is new to the industry and wants to know all of this kind of stuff. They really should pick up a copy because it's amazing. So yeah, you're just a wealth of information, and it's been amazing to have you at the California Film Commission as someone that I go to all the time for, and I really appreciate you and all that you've given to the industry. It's been really amazing working with you and interviewing you. Thank you for all of this.
And I feel the same, for you.
Aww. Yeah.
So you are such a good film commissioner and such a wonderful person, and you've done so much with your job in the area, and you're so well respected and cared for. So.
Thank you. Oh, that's so sweet of you. Gosh, I just love you.
Same here. Right back at you.
Thank you so much again for this. This has just been really amazing, and I think that there's going to be a lot of people who are going to get a lot out of this. So thank you again.
Okay. Take care. Talk to you soon.